And US President Donald Trump has declared he is considering military action in the Middle East, the confirmation as tension over Iran's nuclear program increases. For more, joining us live is Ben Taleblu. Ben, great to see you and thank you very much for joining us. So what kind of movement are you seeing in the Middle East and possible timings on potential strikes?
Well, it's a pleasure to be back with you again, Janie. I think the Trump administration still is playing this quite close to the chest, but at the same time, it's proving that it means what it says, that the military option is credibly on the table. There is a historic, and I want to repeat, historic volume of force and volume of U.S. military capabilities moving into the CENTCOM area of operations as we speak. There is now almost as enough fighter aircraft, I should say, in the region as there was during the time of the Iraq War in 2003. There's a historic number of naval assets to support that as well, and more is indeed on the way. We've also seen quite a bit of logistical capacity surge by the Trump administration, hinting that this may not be a pinprick strike or a one-off, but a larger and perhaps even more sustained campaign.
So talk us through more on that, because it sounds very important indeed, and you're saying historic. So give us a little bit more information if you don't mind.
Sure. So while the Trump administration covets flexibility and strategic surprise, and certainly if you had to ask me to intonate what the president may want, he may want something that is short, sharp, and decisive. But ultimately, he's also looking for a political win here. And something short, sharp, and decisive may not be worth the squeeze. And that perhaps is why he's bringing in more assets into the region and also driving a harder bargain at the negotiating table, pressing for the dismantlement of the rest of the regime's nuclear program, as well as, of course, holding the line reportedly on zero enrichment, even though there's some other more recent press reporting that says the Trump administration may be considering symbolic offsite enrichment. There's also the question as to timing as well. There's been so many leaks, and I want to stress this again, so many leaks based on credible sources, but still so many leaks coming out of the administration to the left-leaning press, to the right-leaning press, to the nonpartisan press, that I actually think all of the guesswork about what these assets in the region are going to do is precisely that. It is guesswork because Donald Trump wants Tehran's theocrats to sweat as he entertains a final proposal that they will be sending him as early as Tuesday of next week. And Tuesday of next week, lest we forget, is the State of the Union address.
And yes, getting back to what you said on the timing, if we are going to see these strikes, and we know the most powerful aircraft carrier in the world is heading there as well, Gerald Ford, along with what you have also mentioned. But it is that timing, and we know Donald Trump has his own plans, but there's also those conversations, those negotiations that we're also planning to hear more of potentially.
Sure, and the Iranian foreign minister has certainly been hyping those conversations in the American press. Again, previously he went on Fox News. More recently, he went on MSNBC. So you can say the government of the Islamic Republic is doing a bipartisan full court press to try to get Americans to undermine President Trump's show of force in the region. The Iranian foreign minister struck a somewhat more cautiously optimistic tone. But if you pay attention to the people who have power in Iran, and first and foremost, that's the supreme leader, which is the title meant to be taken quite literally. The supreme leader of Iran just late last week talked about martyrdom, talked about not pledging allegiance to the United States. And I think if we're going to be picking up and distinguishing between signals and noise in Iran, we should be paying more attention to what the supreme leader says to his own audience rather than what the foreign minister, who is his subordinate, says to external audiences.
And talk us through the significance, because we're hearing a lot about the nuclear enrichment, the zero enrichment, all of these numbers going around. What is the significance in layman's terms?
Sure. So enrichment is the process by which any country that has this capacity can purify uranium and get it to a certain level, some for civilian grade, but if you go much, much higher, you can make it weapons grade. And this is basically the fissile material or the fuel for a nuclear weapon. Now, any country that has this domestic full fuel cycle capability on its own soil means that, in essence, it can produce a nuclear weapon on its own soil. And that's why this crisis really began in April 2006 and has escalated since then, because Iran has been enriching uranium with questions over safeguards on its own soil since April 2006. Now, why an agreement here could be important, and let me just say for the record, I don't support an agreement at this time, but an agreement by the administration's logic could be important here to cement the military win that it got last June. Last June, for the first time ever, the Trump administration got Iran to stop enrichment on its own soil because it bombed and destroyed Iran's enrichment facilities. Iran still has nuclear capability, and it's about getting rid of that lingering capability after having destroyed that capacity. But the regime doesn't want to give Trump a political win after Trump last year achieved a military win. And therein lies the tension.
All right, before we let you go, we just got to that picture there. I don't know if you had a chance to see the satellite picture. So, I mean, we're hearing, do we know how much it was destroyed? What's the sort of situation in that perspective in terms of the enrichment areas?
Well, we know that two of the declared nuclear facilities are indeed destroyed. The X factor is the highly enriched uranium, particularly at 60% purity. Where is that? Is that entombed underground? Many analysts believe yes. Some analysts, press, think tankers, academics believe that that uranium was moved before the Trump administration, or even perhaps before the Israelis struck during the 12-day war. And that's why one big diplomatic ask is to go after the rest of Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. And this comes with both the political question as well as the intelligence question: where is it? Because the International Atomic Energy Agency has not been inspecting the rest of Iran's nuclear sites since the end of the 12-day war.
Thank you, as always, for joining us, Ben Taleblu, Senior Director for the Foundation for Defence of Democracies.